Hi, Lisa White, IVF coach with IVF Manifesting a Miracle, here for a new Soul Sister conversation. I'm so excited for you to meet a new guest of mine. We recently connected, and her name is Sara Giita Flores. Welcome, Sara.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you so
Hi.
much for having me.
It's going to be so fun.
Yeah.
We recently connected at a women's circle at a full moon gathering,
hmm
and we spoke to each other afterwards, and you shared that you're a vocal coach. And in addition to a vocal empowerment coach, you're also a speaker and a singer songwriter. You're based here in Colorado. And when I learned that you're a vocal coach, I was like, I need to connect with her because, and many people may not think, how is a vocal coach even like associated with, how could they help us with fertility, navigating through IVF? And you were open to just the invitation and connection. So I want to thank you for being here.
Yeah, my pleasure. And I do think that there is a lot of connection between life giving and life giving, the down and the up and out pathways. So, yeah,
For
excited for
sure.
this.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about your background and kind of like how you even got into the work as a vocal empowerment coach. I know you've
Yeah.
been,
Yeah.
really fascinating story that I am really inspired by.
Yeah. Thank you, Lisa. So, my journey to freeing my voice started with an intense experience of my voice being silenced and shamed. And I think that all women have experienced these moments. Sometimes they're little, sometimes it's just, I've had clients who said, oh, well, I sang and my father said I sounded like a goat, or, or somebody laughs at you, or things like that. So these moments of, I call them voice ruptures, they can be seemingly insignificant, but really insignificant, like the moment when your voice is dismissed and you learn to make it smaller and quieter. And sometimes they're really intense. And for me, it was intense. As a 5-year-old, I was sexually assaulted by a friend's dad. And I reacted by narrowing my self expression, really my whole being, to try to be pleasing and palatable and really trying to make sure everybody around me was okay so that I could maybe feel some sense of safety inside. It also manifested as perfectionism. Like, if I can be perfect, then maybe I can avoid that kind of criticism and doing something wrong that I would get punished for again. So, um, I was like super stressed college student at age 19 when my body started to tell me, like, okay, things need to change. For me, how my body gave me that wake up call was through pain, through a repetitive strain injury. I was a piano major at the time and I couldn't play piano for for several years there. But it was also about functioning and being able to put things into the world. It was like there was so much push, push, push that then my body was like, okay, we can't keep going this way. So you're just not going to be able to function and do a lot of things that seemed like basic tasks with my hands. So for me, that was a big wake up call to start first coming into my body, first learning how to have more presence. And it eventually led me into trauma resolution therapy. And I'm so grateful that I've had the opportunity to do somatic experiencing and EMDR therapies. And over the years, really come back to my sense of self and my sense of self-worth and the need for me to take up space, to embody my pace. So not the push, 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 but like what feels intrinsically right for me. And when I emerged from the trauma healing therapy. And of course, healing is ongoing. So it's not like there was some defined endpoint. For a while, I really wanted there to be the defined endpoint, like I'm 100% healed. Everything in my life is perfect. But there was a moment when I really felt like I was ready to move on from that trauma resolution container. Like there was some basic nervous system repair that had happened. And for me, what I felt called to was self-expression in a bigger way. I was already a singer-songwriter. I was a vocal performance major in college, and I had been teaching voice and piano lessons in a very traditional way for 10 years. And then when I felt like I was emerging from the therapy with this really greater sense of my purpose and self-expression and wanting to not play small anymore, as well as wanting to honor my body, I started feeling like it was time to merge the voice work and the healing work. And that's, the past 6 years, it's been a lot of discovery of how to use the voice as a tool for healing and heal through the voice, to heal your voice and self-expression. And what's emerged is that I've seen that so much of what I've been cultivating and creating for clients is how to use the trauma-informed principles, things like going in small doable chunks, being in consent with yourself and with your body. Things like learning to pendulate, going between a resource or something that helps you feel safe and stable, and then coming back to the area of growth, that thing that challenges you more. That these tools are all interwoven into the work that I facilitate, so that what happens is it's like going from like PTSD to like my nervous system has more resilience is kind of like coming back to a neutral and your homeostasis of health. And the work that I do around helping women express themselves is like going to thriving. Yeah. So it's using a lot of those trauma healing tools to help you feel safe creating what you're meant to create in the world, to help you feel like you have the tools and that like all of you is in the line so you can actually make that happen. It's not like, I really want to have a baby, but this other part of you is like, no, you can't do that, or for me saying, I really want to write a book. Yes. And then another part is like, you can't do that. Who's going to listen to you? So I use all these tools to help us get like, everybody has a voice in here, but my highest self is leading the way, because sisters, you are meant to bring things into the world, and what those are, what they look like, they may be physical, they may not be physical, but like you are here with purpose. So I hope that listeners will feel like that, that inner alignment of like being worthy and called to bring your gifts forth into the world.
Oh my gosh. So juicy. Yeah, what I love is you really help women really deepen, like you've shared with me, like more confidence.
Yeah.
In using the voice.
Yes. Yes.
And you do this in a myriad of ways. We'll get to that in a little bit, but music for you, I think, was really that gateway, right? That opened the door to your healing.
It so was, because when I would have like piano recitals, it allowed me to be seen and praised in a way that was kind of non-specific, right? Like it's not like sharing my story through words, but it's like a piece of me is coming out and being celebrated and applauded. Yeah. And that was so key and so healing to me throughout my childhood, that I had the opportunity to have the music lessons. And then when I added singing, it was like even more of me got to come through. So, and there's so many studies about how music is healing. And I really, I know that most people out there are like, oh, well, I'm not a singer. But the thing is to keep in mind that humans have been singing together for at least as long as we have been speaking. Some archaeologists think we started singing before we started speaking. This is an intrinsic
Yeah.
mode of human expression. It's like drinking water.
Mhm.
Singing is like vital. And unless you want to sing on a stage and get paid for it, you don't have to sound good. You
Yeah.
can just sing for fun. And it doesn't matter if it's off key, and it doesn't matter if you're like, oh, my voice is raspy, or oh, my voice cracks. Like, you can just sing for fun. And it is so healing and so liberating for your
It
soul.
is.
So,
It's a way of
yeah,
releasing
yeah,
and freeing ourselves and
yeah,
tapping into that creative power within us.
yeah.
And I also love how meditation really was so key for you, it sounds like, in helping you make this big shift.
It was because meditation and yoga were one of the ways that I really learned to resource myself
Mhm.
more. So in my early 20s, I was raised in a yoga and meditation organization, very like kind of from India, like raw, real yoga, not like core power. I'm nothing against core power and all that, but this is like, it was like straight from the source kind of experience. And I got really into it in my early 20s. And I mean, gosh, it opened me up in so many ways. That's when I first started writing songs, because for the first time I felt like I was opening the door to divine connection, to let that inspiration pour through. And meditation did really help me ground and brought me to be able to do the trauma resolution therapy. It's interesting looking back, because I see how when I started meditation, I was bringing some of that perfectionist pushing in, like, you are going to meditate 30 minutes in the morning and 30 minutes in the evening, and you are going to focus on your mantra, and you are going to do it right, and things like that. So in recent years, there's definitely been a lot more of coming into a more feminine, open, flowing way of meditation. Not to say there wasn't divine flow with the very like specific goal oriented mantra meditation, like oneness. This is your only goal. Because of course I know that my soul is here to achieve oneness. But what I've found is that in many ways, I was not in consent with myself when I was sitting to meditate. Like, my body wanted to be moving. Perhaps my body wanted to be shaking, or sometimes making sound, or sometimes just like when I go to bed at night, like sometimes I don't meditate before bed. I just read a spiritual book.
Not to be
So,
complicated, right? We
yeah, exactly. So I think that now
don't.
I'm really an advocate of like, meditation is time for you
Mhm.
to be with yourself, and that can look so many different ways, right?
Oh, for
So
sure.
and it's very grounding, and it does definitely help you um get through challenging
Mhm.
experiences.
And
Yeah.
what I love that, like, what you and I are about, I mean, we help empower people through challenging situations, through turning something that could, is really hard and difficult, more transforming that into, like, unleash this power within you, leaning in, stepping into creativity and wholeness and just this richness, right? And giving permission to, like, to play and to just have that freedom to let go, right?
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of women through IVF and fertility, many have quieted their voices. Many are afraid to speak up and advocate, ask the hard questions, sometimes
Yeah.
their doctor, or just advocating for themselves, what they need, what they want. Oftentimes, like, quieting that inner voice and not always speaking and calling in their desires, or maybe they're not good at setting boundaries with other people. I'm just going to help give you some scenarios of, like, what women, because I know you haven't experienced these challenges yourself, but through IVF I see that on a lot of clients, where their voices and just this throat area, the throat chakra, is like really kind of stifled.
Yeah.
Uh, could be blocked, could be just limited in some way.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was one of the reasons I reached out to you, because I'm like,
Mm.
you know, helping women really unleash this, open up this space where you can be more fully expressed,
Yeah.
not holding on to this, the hurt and the pain and, all of this suffering that isn't always something we need to take on. But I'm wondering, what your thoughts are, because I know you talk a lot about energetic healing, and
Mhm.
the throat chakra is a big one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any thoughts on it?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So,
Yeah.
and thank you for sharing some of the
Mhm.
struggles that I know IVF is such a hard thing to go through. And I have had experiences of medical trauma. So there's maybe some parallels, but
Yeah.
differences also to be respected. So I, I think that the throat is like the open channel where it comes through,
Hmm.
and it's coming from your power deeper within. So in order to set boundaries and have your voice be respected, it doesn't start with the words. It starts with the certainty in yourself that you are worthy, and that your voice and your needs absolutely matter. Now, I'm sure that everybody listening is like, well, of course they know that, right? On an intellectual level. And what I encourage people to think about is how to cultivate more of that bodily sense of worth. And I have knowing about myself.
Hmm.
So, a lot of times in medical situations, I mean, of course, a doctor's credentials are to be respected, right? That's why you go to a medical professional. And at the same time, this old model of they are the expert, they know better than me, I think it really needs to be replaced with I have knowing of what is right for me. I have knowing inside of myself. If something feels like I need to say, no, don't poke me right now. Give me a minute. Or if I
Hmm.
need to say, I have a question. I don't care if you're late. Like, I have a question, right? So that it's really a partnership. You are seeking them out for help because they have all the training and expertise, and you deserve to have your knowing honored as well. I definitely have had a situation where it was like, nope, you don't know. Go on home. I won't go into the whole story, but and the invitation of that experience of medical trauma was for me to come into my own power and
Hmm.
to say, you know what? I am speaking up for what I need, and I am going to be listened to.
Yeah.
So, as far as opening the throat chakra goes, I think of it as first aligning the lower chakras because it's a flow in a
Yeah.
channel. So when you feel like, okay, I'm getting a little sense of this blueprint of worthiness and health inside of me, and you can feel it in your belly, and you can feel it in your pelvis, and you can feel it in your womb, like, yes, what I feel matters and what I need matters. And I know there's lots of times when you're like, oh, well, maybe I don't really need to ask the question, or maybe I don't really need to share this. It's like, okay, if it's coming up for you, it's a need.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't have to second guess anything.
I'm
Like,
just thinking too, with
yeah,
those who want to be a mother, like more than
yeah,
anything. And it's like,
yeah,
or wanting a second child, if
yeah,
you've had one and you're struggling through secondary
yeah,
infertility, and it's like,
yeah.
no, these desires are on your heart. And
Yes. Yes. And you can't, I know I felt that way before my second child because I had such a hard time with the first one
Mhm.
that I was like, this makes no logical sense why I would want another child. But my heart was like, there's somebody else out there. Like I sensed it. And the universe was really like, do you really want it? Because I had a miscarriage in between the kids. And then I was like, yes, I really want it. And I was blessed with another child. So I love that you brought that in, like the heart desire. Yeah. I mean,
I mean, and that's
there's,
below the throat chakra, right? Our
yeah,
heart. So it's like,
exactly.
you're right about,
Yeah.
I'm so glad you said
Yeah.
that too. It's like, this is what I guide clients through as well,
Yeah.
through my intimate group coaching and
Yeah.
then the one-on-one. It's like, we really dive deep in and looking at the foundational pieces, the root, getting
Yeah.
rooted and safe within, right?
Yeah.
Your sacral and your
Yeah.
solar plexus, and all of these build upon the other.
Yeah.
But the throat, like you said, it's that seat of communication.
Yeah.
Our,
Yeah.
it's our, I speak, each of the chakras that I guide, that I teach too. It's like each has something, I feel,
Yeah.
see, this is I speak. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's cool.
I just think if we're not keeping this area open, I mean, how it could be inhibiting us from really being in that full alignment,
Yeah. Yeah.
allowing manifestations, desires,
Yeah.
expression to flow more freely.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other piece of like, first you get a sense of that alignment. And it's not that it has to be perfect, right? It's not like every single day I'm just resting in my worth, but I know how to reconnect to it. I know it's always there.
Mm-hmm.
So once you get that sort of alignment, then making sound is one of the best and most fun ways to open up your throat chakra. So if that means you're with your partner having some intimate time, that you can just moan or make any sounds that feel good. Could be letting yourself sigh. Could be giving yourself a little time to go off into the woods and scream, because Lord knows there's times when we need a good scream.
I know. So get a pillow and just scream your little heart out. Like I write about.
I know.
We have to have ways to release.
Yeah.
Get it out of us. And writing is one way, or punching, moving our body, and screaming and using our voice is another way.
Yeah. So. Yeah. So using the voice and making the sounds rather than tamping them down, it's the easiest and most natural way to open the throat. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing this. And then chanting, or, I know the Om, you had some experience in training with meditation, and just that's a simple practice that I think, I shared that in a recent group that I led, and how chanting can be such a simple exercise to feel those vibrations. As we know, everything's energy, everything's vibration, and sound healing. There's a lot we can do. But is there any kind of exercise maybe that you could guide us through that helps us reconnect with ourselves, maybe through our voice, or through opening up this space?
Yeah. Well, since we're talking about sounding, I'm going to lead people through two practices. The first is a breathing practice called open channel breathing. And the second is playing with instinctual sounds. So you're going to get to experiment with some sounds. Now, I like to say that these practices, for some people, they feel like, yes, I love it. For other people, it feels kind of like it brings up some stuff. So I invite people before we begin, and so you can engage with it in any way that feels good. You can just listen. Totally fine. You can pause if you need. Before we begin, I would love to have people just connect with a resource. So a resource is anything that helps you feel safe, stable, calm. So it could be that you see something in your space, like there's a maple tree right out my window, and she gives me so much sense of stability. Could be that you're feeling a part of your body, like, my feet are on the ground, they're feeling pretty good, or my back is on the bed and it's feeling good. Or it could be that a resource is something intangible inside yourself. So it could be a connection to any kind of spirit guide. It could be connecting to your wisest self within. So I invite everybody to take a moment to just tune in with resource, because sometimes, things get stirred up.
or even like a physical object too.
Yes, yes, yes.
I write about having like a
Mhm.
special symbol to
Yeah,
ground you, having
yeah.
something that you can reconnect and root with. So
Yes, and I love that crystal. Like so perfect because you can feel it, right? Yeah, especially if you're kinesthetic, like something you can hold in your hand and touch. So powerful. I mean, it's simple. It's kind of like, is this really going to help me? But yeah, it
yes.
does. And I'm going to stand up to lead. So we're going to breathe in and invite anybody viewing to notice the expansion of your ribs as you breathe in. So as you breathe in, your lungs fill kind of like balloons. And you have this diaphragm muscle, which is your lower ribs, that is really the activator of your breath. So when you breathe in, it moves downward, pushes your organs out a little bit. And then you have intercostal muscles between your ribs that also expand your body so the air just rushes in. So I want you to think about this idea of, yes, your muscles do things to create the space, but then the air comes in with zero effort because there's a vacuum that's created. It's like that space is open to receive. And so you're just allowing the air to come in. So the muscles in your ribs and your diaphragm are going to work a little bit. But the air comes in and you are receiving. So you breathe in at your own pace and exhale. And we are going to exhale with the phrase, I am worthy. So I am going to sing it and then I'll pause and listeners can speak it if that's the most comfortable, or they can sing it, or they can just repeat it in their heads, okay? So breathing in, letting your lungs fill with beautiful energy, nourishing energy. I am worthy. And as you breathe in, you can imagine your lungs filling with white light, a beautiful, nourishing white light that reaches all of your cells. Breathing in, I am worthy. And one last time, you're going to breathe in the nourishing air, breathe in that white light, receive it effortlessly. I am worthy. And now that we've done a little breathing, I'm going to invite people to transition into some wild, playful sounding. And the whole point of this exercise is to release the judgments on how we sound. So pretty much everybody has some judgments about like what they allow themselves to express with their voices, right? Like we don't make all the sounds that we used to make as toddlers. Okay. We've been like either explicitly through like, ew, that was gross, or what was that? Or children should be seen or not heard. Or perhaps just from noticing what other people do and copying them, we get to this like kind of narrowing. So with this exercise, which again, you can engage in any way you like, the purpose is to soften your judgments. Like we're trying to be wacky. We're allowing ourselves to make weird sounds. And so I'm going to make a little sound, a little off the cuff sound, and you can repeat what I did in the space afterwards. You can do something similar. You can do something completely different. You can just do a little sigh or a hum if that feels good. Or you can just listen, because honestly, if this is feeling edgy, that may be the perfect thing, because just listening to somebody doing weird sounds is like, wow. You like some part of you is like, oh, I didn't know that you could do that on YouTube. Right? Like it's just like planting a seed. So,
So good.
yeah.
This is so good. I'm meeting myself as I'm listening.
Perfect. Yes, perfect.
This is great. I hope people are having fun with this and just like being courageous to let yourself like express and have fun
Yeah.
with it.
And one thing you can notice as we do our final invitation to sound is just the feeling of like it flowing out through your throat and out of your mouth into the world, because your sound and your voice is a gift to the world, even when it's raw, even when it's filled with emotions that are labeled negative. Like your voice is needed. So I invite you to imagine that, just that flow of air and energy up and out, like easy open channel. So I'm going to do one more sound.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. It's always fun.
It just is a reminder to not take ourselves so seriously.
Yeah, yeah.
And any part of us that's kind of feeling cramped, stifled, like pay attention to what our bodies are always telling us things.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Speaking to us, calling to us to unleash, to let go, to just open that, like you said, that channel. It's a power source for us.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and it's also the place where things are taken from the unseen, like air, and they are brought into a form that we can perceive with our five senses.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Thinking about it. Wow.
Yeah, it's like taking the intangible and making it tangible, which is so connected to creating life. Yeah.
Yeah, so you mentioned something to me about there's a parallel between the throat and the birth canal.
Yes. The first time that I heard this, I was like, oh my gosh. So I want to honor, there can be all sorts of reactions to this. There could be like, I don't really see it. There could be like, oh, wow, oh my gosh. Or there could be like kind of some triggering happening. So if there's triggering, totally fine. All emotions are welcome. Remember to connect to resource, pause if you need. But if you just think visually about our bodies, on one end of our torso, we have the vaginal canal, which is this open space through which life comes out. And then on this end of our torso, we have the throat, which is an open channel, like an open space through which a different form of life and vitality comes out. And they start, you have the womb between the womb to the vaginal canal to the opening, and you have the lungs to the throat canal to the opening. And the other way that these are connected, not just in kind of the symmetry, is the function that they play in our human lives in so many ways, because the woman's womb has been so dishonored through many millennia in Europe, and through colonialism that has spread everywhere. And women's voices have, just by the same exact force, been dishonored, tamped down, shamed, all of these things. So the function of the womb is to be a fertile place where life can possibly begin.
Mhm.
And then the vaginal canal is like the place where it comes out. And it's not always super easy, but it's like the in and the out place. So and then when you think about the throat, like this, I mean, your lungs are, of course, they're life giving. We can't survive at all without lungs and heart. So it's like the taking in and receiving of the thing that with our lungs always gives life, and with our womb may or may not give life, but it's still that same fertile space.
Yeah.
It's that space of like possibility
Mhm.
where just magic can happen. I mean, the miracle of our bodies, whether or not our wombs ever produce life, whether or not some women have their uterus removed, but that energy is still there. Like, we are the life givers.
Yeah.
And that's been feared and tamped down, but it's time to really honor, like, no matter what experience you've had with fertility, like, you're still a life giver. Like, it's your essence.
That's so beautiful. I'm hearing this, and I had to have my uterus removed 3 weeks after
Hmm.
birth. And so
Yeah.
that energy and that space, it's
Yeah.
still there,
Yeah.
that
Hmm.
power, that womb wisdom,
Yeah.
never fully leave you. And
Yeah.
always been a reminder, as healing is a process. It's not something you ever fully reach, as we know.
Right.
The
Yeah.
continual process. But I'm glad you shared that, because there are many women who cannot carry children,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
reasons, and oftentimes holding on to, like you said, the worthiness or the shame or the my
Yeah.
body not doing what it's supposed to do kind of thoughts.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So how we can connect with our bodies. And
Yeah.
I don't know, what advice would you give to those women who are in that place of just feeling, I don't know, like a disconnection or
Yeah.
too much
Yeah.
for their womb space?
Absolutely. Um, well, I think that this first step in healing is usually bringing awareness. And if you're in kind of a cycle of healing, cycling back, then there might be just awareness of a deeper layer of how that shame is most likely related to some conditioning, because the worth of a woman for so long was reduced to the ability to bear children, to
Mhm.
make the man more like
Mhm.
powerful, right?
Mhm.
So when you take it in to see that the woman's life-giving energy and capacity may include bringing children into the world, but it can be so much bigger than that. And that's a blueprint. That is something that is intrinsically healthy within you. Like, it exists in there. That sense of your worth and your life-giving capacity, even if a part of your body is not doing what
Functioning.
we expect it to, or what society says it should do,
Mhm.
right? Like that, the energy and the ability to rest within your worth, to connect to your life-giving capacity, is always alive in you. It's
Mhm.
like it's always there. It's vital. It's a matter of finding it inside, and then allowing those parts of you that are like, oh, yeah, but I feel this shame because I really wanted my uterus to work the way that they say it should, and it didn't. And there can be a sense of loss and grief too. I mean, I have my fallopian tubes gone, and I elected to do that, but I still feel grief. Like, oh my gosh. I mean, so to let yourself feel the feelings, but at the same time, let the parts that are feeling shame and grief meet that inner blueprint, that inner worthiness
Mhm.
that says, you are a life-giving goddess, Doesn't matter if certain organs are still in there. Doesn't matter if you're getting your child by some different method. Like, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Like, all these things that are like, woman vagina. Like, oh, no, I'm like, a woman vagina, whole being. Like, this is a
Yeah.
life-giving gift to the world. So, connecting to that inner sense and learning how to reconnect more and more. Like, and thoughts of shame and feelings of shame, they still might come up, but it's like
Mhm.
when you know how to find what is intrinsically yours and worthy, then it's like
Mhm.
a process of reconnecting. Then it's just like, oh, I know how to journey back, right?
Yeah.
Like, self-doubts, the shame, the unworthiness, they come up, but I know how to journey back.
I love
Yeah.
how you talk about that. Like the first part of our healing is really healing ourselves, loving
Mhm.
ourselves first. That's the essence
Yeah.
of what I write about in Hold On Baby. It's like
Mm.
holding on to yourself first,
Yeah. Wow.
yourself a priority and that self-love and
Mm.
um,
Yeah.
using voice, right? That creative
Yeah.
expression
Yeah.
is it's such powerful work. You're transforming so many lives in the work you're doing. It's incredible.
Thank you. Thank you so
And
much, Lisa.
your middle name, Gita means
Yeah.
song.
Yes.
Divine intervention, right?
I know. I was given that name when I was 6 months old. It is Sanskrit. It is the same word as the Bhagavad Gita, but it's just a different regional spelling with the two I's. So it makes me unique, easy to find online. With just Sara Flores, I'm quite generic, but I'm the
I
only Sara Giita Flores.
love it. I mean, it's so perfect. It's meant to be your name.
I guess so.
um, and gosh, written an album, right?
I have put an album of music into the world. I actually made that when I was pregnant with my first child, and that was
Hear that.
13 years ago. Yeah.
How old are your children now?
So I have a son who is 12, almost 13, and I have a daughter who is 8.
Oh my gosh. And the
Yeah.
album, I love the title, Take the Leap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Beautiful. I need to hear that sometime. And did I hear you're working on a book?
I am working on a book. Yeah. So the album you can listen to on Spotify, all the streaming
Oh,
platforms if you search for Sara Giita.
okay.
And I am I am writing a book. It's been a 4-year process. It's been a birthing and then a stopping and then a whole process, but it's really been the process of me tuning into what my work is and defining what I'm meant to bring into the world. And it's starting to come together. So I do plan to release that book in 2023. Oh gosh, now I see it does. So it has to like happen.
It's transformative in so many
Yeah.
ways. And it's using our
Yeah.
voice in a whole nother way, right?
It is. It is. Yeah.
We're continually using our voices through
Yeah.
our writing,
Yeah. It's that open channel, letting it come out into the world and be received by people.
Well, and you have a free gift, I know. Can you tell a little bit about that?
Yes. So I invite anyone who's interested in just more of this work of opening up your throat, opening up your voice, to check out the Powerful Voice Toolkit. You can get it for free on my website, and it has a PDF guide for how to safely explore your voice, as well as 3 MP3 practices. And one of those MP3 practices is the playing with instinctual sound that we did. So it's a more, it gives a good lead in as well as a little bit longer practice. It's, 7 or 8 minutes. So you can get used to the wild and wacky self-expression with maybe a little less judgment. And it's interesting because when you start to open yourself to those, like, wow, I can scream or go, whoa, then it's like, oh, like speaking, like, hey, I have a question. It's easier. Right?
Oh, it's so good. So
Yeah.
good. I'm definitely going to check that
Yeah.
out. And your website is
Mhm.
saragiita.com.
Yes. So that's where you can get it.
A YouTube
sarahgita.com.
channel, right? YouTube? YouTube?
Yes, I have YouTube. That's gotten a little bit ignored with the book writing process, but you can also look me up on YouTube. The name of the channel is Trust Your Voice.
Wonderful. Trust your, and your name, trust your voice.
Yeah, I'm changing it. So probably I should do that ahead of time.
I'll link all the details in kind of the show notes.
Yes. If you're watching this like way after the fact, you know, like Trust Your Voice doesn't exist, just go to my website and I'll have the new name linked and things like that. I'm just always like
We're continually evolving and figuring
new,
things out, right?
exactly.
Like we're
Newer
always
iterations are always
exactly
needing
right.
to be expressed. So
I have so loved this talk with you today. You've
yeah,
given
me
us so
too.
much. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for just being so vulnerable and just
Hmm.
sharing and giving and sharing in the power of, using our voices, unleashing that
Yeah.
power, can really help
Yeah.
us through, not just through fertility, of course, but like through life. It's
Yeah.
like life,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
Our breath, our voice, our throat.
Yeah. Yeah.
So adore
Absolutely.
you. Can't wait to see you again in person.
Likewise. Thank you so much for inviting me, Lisa.
Yes, connect with Sara. And for anyone who is wanting to deepen in getting more support on their IVF path, reach out to me. I'm at ivfmanifestingmiracle.com and really love doing this work so much. And so grateful for you, Sara. So everyone,
Yes,
stay well.
likewise.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.